Okay, wow, welcome to our panel called What Short Films Fight For and How. Thanks for joining us in Plentiful. My name is Anne Gaschütz. I'm the director of Filmfest Dresden. I'm also part of the selection committee for the Party di Domani section in Locarno. And I'm also one of the co-founders of Talking Shorts, who is co-hosting this panel. For those of you who don't know, Talking Shorts is a platform solely dedicated to short films, short film writing, short film essays, but we also conduct workshops. And we're very happy to co-host this panel today in Clermont. Yes, before I introduce this panel, the panelists even, just a few words. What we're going to talk about today is of course, I assume you all know we live in a world that's seemingly more volatile, a volatile political climate. We're facing wars and bad news every day, and we just want to see today how does this influence our own work? Can short filmmaking actually change things? Can we make a difference together? And how do wars, budget cuts, climate change, and so many other things affect our stance on solidarity? It's only, what is it today? 5th of February today, but a lot has already happened in the world until now. So I'm just going to give a little overview of a few things that have happened in January, only in 2025, just for you to maybe get a little bit of an insight of the world we're facing today. One of the main things that happened, of course, is the Canadian Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, announced his intention to resign. In LA, wildfires destroyed great parts of the city, impacting especially Latino, Black, and other marginalized communities. After a 2-year vacancy, Lebanon has a new president, Joseph Aoun. Donald Trump became the 47th president of the United States. What he did is he withdrew from the Paris Climate Accord and the World Health Organization. He eliminated diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, and he wants to establish strict binary definitions of sex and gender across federal agencies. At the same time, Thailand legalizes same-sex marriage. Elon Musk, on the other hand, endorses German far-right party AfD. By the beginning of January, actually, I'm looking at you because reportedly 12,500 civilians and 70,000 Ukrainian soldiers have been killed since Putin's invasion of Ukraine in 2022. At least 21 individuals have been executed in Iran in January alone. Over 900 last year have been executed in Iran. January 27th marked the 80-year anniversary of the liberation of the Auschwitz concentration camps. At the same time, the leader of Germany's Conservative Party introduced plans for strict migration measures with votes from the far-right party, which marked actually the first time since the end of World War II that a Democratic Party is counting on the votes of a far-right party in Germany. Also, what happened in January, a ceasefire agreement was reached between Israel and Hamas. UN figures showed that by mid-January, almost 46,000 Palestinians were killed and 1,700 Israelis, of which almost 500 people were journalists, media workers, humanitarian aid workers. However, a UK study actually found recently that the actual numbers might be as much as 40% higher altogether. On that uplifting note, let me introduce the panelists. We're still waiting, unfortunately, for one panelist. I don't know if she's joined because she should be joining from the US online, Rune Noor. I'm going to introduce her anyways, and we just hope that she will join in the next minutes because I'm sure she will have very valuable things to say also on the topics we're talking about. So to my left, we have Nicolas Khabbaz. He's a program and artistic director of Beirut Shorts and Beirut Mediterranean Film Festival. You actually graduated in filmmaking and wrote a PhD thesis on cinema of small nations and the question of its identity. You're also a professor at Notre Dame University in Lebanon. And you're also a film producer, and you just had your world premiere with the film What If They Bomb Here Tonight by Samir Siriani. The world premiere was just celebrated in Clermont to, I think, 1,300 people in the auditorium. Yes, it's a great festival to have the world premiere. Sacha Prokopenko Prokopenko is sitting next to you. You're a festival programmer, film curator, and translator based in Kyiv. You're the head of programming at Kyiv International Short Film Festival. You're also a collaborator with the Molodist Kyiv International Film Festival and Ukraine's first LGBTQIA film fest, Sunny Bunny. And you also work with an independent distribution company called Kyiv Music Film. Thanks for joining us. And next to you, we have Elahe Esmaili, a filmmaker originally from Iran. You actually did an MA in directing from the National Film and Television School in London. Your first film, The Doll, won the Best International Short at Hot Docs in 2021. You made a second film called Can I Hug You, that premiered at Sheffield Dog Fest in 2023. And most recently, you made a documentary, A Move, that has been screened at many festivals, including IDFA, PERF, and Telluride, and won awards, amongst others, at Vision du Réel and Uppsala. Welcome also to this round. And I'm going to introduce Rune anyway, but I hope she's joining. Rune Noor is actually an independent cinematic practitioner and cultural worker based in the US who focuses on or is hyper-focused on Muslim and African narratives. She's the co-founder of the nomadic microcinema No Evil Eye Cinema, and she's also a producer of the documentary short They Won't Call It Murder. I hope she'll be able to join, otherwise you'll have to make do with us. I'm gonna not start with Rune, I'm gonna start with you, Nicolas. Yes. So actually the good news is Beirut Shorts just became an Oscar-calling festival. It's a short film festival in Lebanon. At the same time, because it happened in November last year, and at the same time, however, Israelis' attacks on Lebanon and especially Beirut really affected you greatly and forced you to also cancel international attendance at your festival. So maybe can you talk a little bit about your festival? How did you navigate this edition? Because I think it's not the first time you've been affected by a political climate. And also you have, your festival's topic is the power of youth. You want to maybe explain a little bit what you did and what the experience was like for you?
Yeah. First of all, Beirut Shorts has been celebrating its cinema since 18 editions. But since the first edition, we've never had an identical edition. So we're always dealing with another crisis in the country or the world. So we had editions where, on our scale, where we had 60 international guests, and we had editions with 0 international guests. And both versions were very good.
That's why you're Oscar qualifying.
Exactly. They're good because at the end of the day, we know what's the mission of this festival. It's sharing good films with our audience. So yeah, we would have loved to have all the filmmakers with us, the amazing jurors and everyone, but the core of our festival and its mission is celebrating cinema, bringing the cinema of the world to our audience. So that's why we can keep on doing our work regardless of what kind of crisis we're facing. Now, this year it was a little bit intense. It's not an economic crisis, it's not COVID, it's not all of this. We were heavily bombarded, especially during the opening night that was taking place in Beirut, and there were rumors about the ceasefire the next day. And we're used to this. Every time, the night before the ceasefire, they give their best, and they started striking all over Beirut. There were almost 20 strikes, and the second day, they announced the ceasefire.
How did you incorporate this actually into your festival? Because it's basically things are happening at the same time you are showing films. I know you work a lot with students also, and I saw also online, the posts you made or your team made were also quite emotional about resistance and standing stronger together. How did you cope literally with the present timeline?
Yeah, actually, like any other people, cinema, it takes you away from reality. Sometimes it it takes you very close to reality as well. But at least during this moment when you are in the theater, at least you forget about what's going on outside. So yeah, we were, the problem is that actually half of the country was bombarded and the other half was not. And we, the people that lived outside the targeted area, we had to have a normal life, you know, like we had to go to work, to send our kids to school and to go to the mall and the supermarket and everything. So, and 25 minutes away by car, some buildings are being demolished. So this schizophrenia that we live in Lebanon allowed us to, you know, decide to continue whatever. So yeah, that's why you see people very enthusiastic about not stopping, you know, because it was Lebanon will never be dead, you know. It will always have its way. It will always have its way to rise and to keep going. We have it in our blood.
And we feel it. I mean, I was there, I don't know how many years ago, but I could feel it too. It's very, very impressive. Moving on to Sacha, because you also have a festival in Kyiv that's been under, well, the other way around. On February 24th, it will be the 3rd anniversary of Putin's invasion into Ukraine, but the war has actually been going on since 2014. And similar to Nicolas, to Beirut, you've actually been trying to organize a festival and show films to audiences under war conditions. How is this for you? How has this actually influenced your programming? Has it influenced your programming? And do you also consider your festival to be a form of resistance within your context?
Yeah, thank you. I think, like what you said, Nicola, it really resonated with me. And yeah, the full-scale invasion of Russia, it really changed my perception of this work. And when we had our first edition of ISFF in the year when they invaded my country, yeah, and I went on stage for the first time. We had, of course, no international guests. We had to move the festival a couple months ahead because we were just not able to prepare it on time. We had to work in the time of power outages, using generators to switch back to the screening all the time. And yeah, it just like came to me that it's really all about our audience that still can come to us, and it's about being together and sharing this experience and proving that we are still alive. And yeah, I think it gave me a lot of power and confidence in what we are doing, and yeah, gave some more sense and meaning to our work. What else I can say?
Yes, because I checked out your program, because you are obviously still showing, which is great, and the same goes for you. You are showing programs that have nothing to do with your political situation. You're showing queer feminist films. You're showing animation for kids. Do you think that the normality also, or the perceived normality of your festival, is a form also of just persevering, maybe even?
Well, I think like most of this question, like for example, the violation of human rights all over the world, not just in Ukraine, but in other countries, is still, it's even more important now. It's like not a time to put it away and think about it later when we win. Like we should deal with these questions now, because for many people, unfortunately, they might not be able to have this opportunity anymore. Like. Yeah, like you mentioned, civilians die every day. Like every morning starts with reading the statistics, and we just have to keep going. But also, I think the programming changed, I'd say, and for these 3 years, we see like the renaissance of Ukrainian culture and the interest for Ukrainian culture and Ukrainian cinema, Ukrainian literature. Our bookshops are full with Ukrainian books, partially because before it was full with Russian propaganda and Russian products, and they have money, so they could fill our country with all their narratives, and finally we can fight back with our culture. So yes, I think we have much more Ukrainian films, not just the competition, but every year we try to focus on also different regions of Ukraine and their cinema. We focus on different unions. For example, last year we had an amazing program from Babylon 13, which is a union of filmmakers who have been documenting the war since 2013. And yeah, many people just find it out now. So yes, and I'm happy that we can bring it on big screen and bring these filmmakers so they can share their experiences first-handedly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Elahe, you're a female director from Iran, and your work
I don't have a film festival, boring.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, but we needed a filmmaker on this panel too, you know, just for the diversity. No, but your works are actually very deeply personal and also very political. Your film A Move is also, I believe, screening here in Clermont, and I just mentioned it in your introduction, it's been very successful. In this film, you do something. You attend a family gathering without your headscarf, and you're actually not just challenging your family in that film, but you're also challenging the viewer's perception of Iran or maybe Iranian women. Would you consider yourself as an activist filmmaker, and do you actually believe that short film has the potential to create a change, not just within oneself, but within a society?
That's a really good question. I think I'm a good person to answer to that because, yeah, first I'm from Iran, second I'm a woman, and third I'm a filmmaker. Each of these could make you to be, could lead you to be an activist and to make some change in the community that you are in. Like specifically, like being an Iranian filmmaker, as probably some of you know, is a fight, right? Like we know that so many odds will happen to us, and we go through so many unbelievable things that I don't even want to open that conversation here. But we still do that because we believe in something, because we believe in the outcome, we believe in the art form that we produce, and we believe in the influence that will have in both our society and worldwide. For example, like in A Move, as you mentioned, yeah, I mean, I showed the film to my family, and I don't know, maybe some of you have seen the film, but it's about me and my family. And them watching the film has changed the whole dynamic in my family, and I could imagine. It hasn't been released in Iran, it hasn't been shown in Iran, and it won't be. But I can imagine that if people watch this film, they're gonna have it's gonna touch them as well, and it's gonna make them think about their past, their future, and how they should accept each other in a way. Or like, for example, another film that I made before that, which is Can I Hug You?, which is about sexual assault of children. That actually was my film that got the more viewers worldwide. Like, it was published on Deutsche Welle, and through that people in Iran could watch it because it was online, and although it didn't again screen in Iran, but people could find it and watch it on Deutsche Welle channel. And I cannot tell you how many people reached out to me after watching that film in the festivals, but mainly with Deutsche Welle channel. That this is such a taboo topic, even not even in Iran, in the whole world. Like some UK organizer, they screen the film, like the organizers that they're like institutions that only work on children survivors of sexual abuse. They screened the film like in multiple screenings, and they shared also their experiences with me. And I mean, that's why we make films, right? Like, is that a sort of activism? I don't know, but what I can say is that the films that I made, from my perspective, they have supported some sort of human rights movements or some sort of human rights activist communities that they wanted to make a change. They referred to my film or they used my film, and I'm grateful for that contribution. And although I was raised in Iran and I moved to the UK only 4 years ago, I think I've carried that thing with me to the UK as well. Like in Iran, like the bread that we eat, the water that we drink is political. Like, you have to think politically about everything. The air that we breathe is political. And that's how I live. Like, I see, like, you know, like, this is how we think on our daily basis. And that definitely reflects on my films as well. So yeah, they're personal, but I think they all have some political elements to them that make them useful for some activism as well.
So they have actually contributed to some change beyond your own cosmos, I would say, which is amazing. Nicolas, because you're also a producer, would you also agree that short films have this power to change, to create political and social change? Because maybe you also can talk about the film that just world premiered here, because it is actually a reaction to the bombings of Beirut.
Yeah, actually, like, the ideas in my head are now a little bit contradictory, because, like, how can you believe that a film can change the world where real footage of people dying are not? And how can you give this influence and impact on people with a fiction where these images are not doing anything? But at the same time, you see that a film and art is being censored where real footage is not. And this is where you feel that maybe this artwork has a power, because they don't like it to see it in that powerful, cinematic, artistic way. They don't like to be in front of this mirror, and they are afraid of this mirror. So yeah, I think that these films, they have an impact. They are afraid of these films. They hate them sometimes, you know.
But that's also a good thing, no? Because what you're saying is also that maybe short films actually have the power to also disrupt certain dominant narratives that maybe media or social media do not show.
Exactly,
yeah.
Because sometimes these films, they change the narrative, or they change the angle of the narrative, especially in What If They Bomb Here Tonight. You know, they're seeing a normal family. No, they're not used to see normal people having a normal life, coming from a middle class, you know, having a beautiful house, and still they are afraid from this war. Like, we don't have to be on the rubble in tents and, I don't know, in a really catastrophic way, the way they like us to be. No, we can be like, we can give another angle of who we are, and this is a real angle as well.
Sacha, how would you respond to this? Because you also said earlier that people come to you now and saying, oh, everything is fine in Ukraine, or it's getting better, but it's actually not really, because I assume you have a similar way of looking at this or feeling about this. How do you also use short film maybe in your work to change narratives even?
Well, I'm very grateful to my many friends from various festivals from many countries who still approach us. Like, we organize screenings of Ukrainian shorts all over the world. Recently, I went to New York to show like the newest Ukrainian short films that like actually show that it's still pretty much going on, and unfortunately, it's not getting any better. And if it's not on the news, it doesn't mean that the situation is improving. But also, like, to add about the activist aspect, I think I just wanted to mention one very important project. It's called the Reckoning Project, Ukraine Testifies. And these are the group of Ukrainian filmmakers who travel to the occupied territories, and they make documentaries on the crimes of Russians in Ukraine. They are documenting everything that's happening, and this is being used in world courts. So we are trying to bring justice to the victims by it, and I think this is a very powerful movement and an extremely important one.
So it's a little bit similar to what Elahe was doing with using especially documentary, because also your film is a fiction, but it's also the real life experience of the director and his family, to use this power also of documentary approach to maybe also make people believe more what's going on and find maybe a niche way to bring it to an audience that might not get the information. How would you actually? This goes to all of you, but maybe Elahe, you can start first. As a filmmaker, what would you expect from festivals or other institutions? How they or we should react to certain crises in the world? Because I mean, there are plenty. We can probably not react to everything, but do you have any expectations towards them? Us?
I mean, look at this film called No Other Land, which was very well received in the festivals, but it didn't get a distribution in the US. What would happen to that film? I mean, obviously, it wasn't supposed to get a distribution for obvious reasons, but what would happen to that very important film at this very moment in our history if it didn't have that festival recognition? You know, no one would watch it now. I think only a couple days ago, 2 or 3 days ago, the filmmakers decided to distribute it privately in the US and some European countries. And the reason that people would go and watch that film is the recognition that that film carries, like the crazy festival run that they had. And I think that's, in like simple words, that's the role of the festivals, I think, to me, to be progressive enough to fight for those values in a way. Like, I know, we all know that there's so many factors involved in how a festival is run, how a festival operates, and how things are being dealt behind the scenes. But I think, like, if we look at it in 50 years, in 10 years, we're going to look back and be either proud of what we have done and the fight that we did, regardless of the result, if it was successful or not, or be ashamed of our silence or cooperating with the mainstream, you know what I mean.
I think so. Do you guys have any other thoughts on this? Sacha is nodding. Please go ahead.
Yes, I have something to say.
Please do.
So I have been feeling quite desperate and disappointed in what's happening in the film festival world lately. Like, I think it's quite obvious for everyone that this is a Russian war against Ukraine, and they are occupying the free country and killing hundreds and thousands of Ukrainians every day, and like occupying our territories. And but it's been 3 years of the full-scale war already, and you see how at many festivals the Ukrainian voices get quieter and quieter when Russian voices are getting louder, and the festivals giving platform to Russian filmmakers, to Russian narratives under the disguise of like this being just fair, that we should hear both sides, when in my opinion it's a sign that they are welcome here and what they are doing is fine. They still are gonna get their premieres, they're still gonna get their awards and travel the world, when we are not able to do so. Like many Ukrainian filmmakers, people from the industry, they cannot leave the country because they joined the army, and like they are brilliant. Like every single person in our army is brilliant, and like they didn't choose it, but they have to fight for their lives, the life of their family and their country. And yeah, it's just doesn't feel that good.
So you feel, maybe you can also, because I know you also have a lot to say on this, you feel also let down by this industry, and I hear it from you also, and it's understandable. Also, but how would you also say, what would you like to change for because I'm also, like I mentioned before, there's a lot going on, and I'm also wondering, do you feel that sometimes certain conflicts or things going on in the world are prioritized over others, and there's like a little, I don't want to call it a competition, but sometimes there's a topic that we all go through, and then it's fashionable for a while, and then maybe after that we focus on something else, but there's no consistency. So how do you feel we can break that cycle? And I don't know, it's a bit emotional today, I'm sorry, but I think that's also part of the talk. If any of you have an idea, or we can also move on if you don't want to talk about it. Is there a solution even?
I'm not sure we can today come up with a solution, because yes, unfortunately, it's just how it is that for the majority, it's just something trendy. And I think it's like this for people who do not exist within these wars and this turbulence. Yeah, I would say that maybe the answer is to reach out to these people and try to hear them and give them platform and keep giving that platform, even if it's been 2, 3, 5 years. I know that it's like exhausting to follow all the news non-stop, but yeah, I don't have any other answer.
Maybe we can change a little bit to the term of solidarity. That's maybe a little bit more optimistic, because I actually had this question: what solidarity means for you? Because I have these 3 points. Does solidarity mean funding, both for your films or for your festivals? Does solidarity mean you get screening fees? Does solidarity mean you get the advocacy for your topics? That also goes a lot into your direction, Elahe, and also into yours as a producer. Or does it mean all 3 of these points? Because I think solidarity is a big thing to come together and maybe evoke change. Elahe or Nicolas, who wants to start?
That's fine. Yeah, I think that all of the above is a kind of solidarity, but like I'm always afraid from the financial solidarity. Like no money comes for free, and yeah, like if you're gonna get funded, there's always a price that you have to pay, regardless of what is this price. You know, it feels like a different type of colonialism when this money is being given. So maybe this is not the topic that I want to talk about now. Giving waivers is a beautiful thing, you know, because like, you know, at least that someone cares about your narrative, cares about your work, cares about what you are doing. So this is a little bit less of a bribe. So no, it's between the film people. There's no governmental money involved, and we just want to see what you are doing. And yes, definitely, when you appreciate our themes and when you see that we have our own stories and our own problems, and that we, as human beings, we live on the same land, on the same planet. It means a lot, you know, when you see that, oh, we can resonate, we can identify, we can even understand what you're going through. And I enjoyed what the director of Tempere, Jukka-Pekka, told me about our film. He told me, like, it makes you understand something that you know. So it's not enough that you know. You know, you should understand also what you know, because it also makes you think about these things that you know.
Yeah, I mean, so of course, like the finances are important, but what I've learned as a short film director is that you're gonna be broken forever, and you're not gonna. Yeah, that's the truth. And although I've made, relatively successful films in terms of festivals and distribution. Still, I'm not getting any financial support when I'm making a film. It's always me like doing other things to raise funds from my own pocket to make my next film. And it's just a reflection on how unfair the industry works for us filmmakers, how things are tough for us, but it's still moving forward. Like, I'm still making my films with empty pockets and with so much difficulty. But also there's another side to this solidarity that we can think about that as well. Like, as a community, like, for example, I went through hell in the last 2 weeks just to be able to be here in Clermont, and the way I did it eventually was yesterday I went to the embassy and was like, just give me my visa, I need to go tonight. And I got my passport and I went to the embassy with my luggage. Literally, and they said, okay, this girl is serious, let's just do something. Solidarity is also about knowing, if any of you didn't even think about how you're gonna go to Clermont, and if you just be aware of that privilege that you have, and contribute to a better understanding within the community of filmmakers. This is just one example, but it can go very wide and beyond what we make inside the films. It's like more about how we make films and how we're gonna survive in this industry.
So it's also about raising awareness, essentially, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Because if I'm not mistaken, also in Ukraine, like, men are not allowed to leave the country, I believe, unless they have a special permit. Is that true?
Yes, because of the ongoing full-scale war, like, we have the active mobilization. So yes. Unfortunately, it's also this very bizarre feeling that I have this privilege to travel, to visit all these festivals, and speak up about the war as much as they can, because many of my friends and my colleagues, they don't have such privilege, and it's just quite a weird feeling.
I'm gonna. We all have to laugh in between as well. I actually wanted to also go back to what you said earlier, Nicolas, because you spoke about censorship and in films, or that films get censored more than what we see in the media. Censorship has also been a big topic in Iran. would I think. Do you actually, because, I mean, the woman life freedom, it's been going on, woman life freedom movement has been going on for a few years now. Has it changed the way how filmmakers navigate censorship? Has it actually also helped filmmaking to move forward? Because I follow Conor, I watch all the Iranian submissions, so what I've noticed very little is fewer headscarves in shorts, and I don't know, people are being a bit more open in the films. It's just the things I see. But would you think that has changed how you make films?
Yeah, we just become more creative in terms of how to deal with that. Like, for example, now, I haven't been in Iran after the release of this film. I know, I'm expecting things to happen to me when I'm going there. I will let you know in 2 months when I go back. But like, our final solution recently was that, okay, me and my producer, we go to Iran separately. So if one of us get arrested, gets stuck, then the other one can do something, can help them be free and help them, So no, it hasn't been it hasn't become better, but worse. Do you want me to go to details?
You say what you need to say.
You will get bored, but
no.
There's a lot at risk, but it's not something that I didn't know when I was making this film. I knew that I'm going to be in trouble. I knew that my family might be in trouble, but still we made that film. And it's so interesting because I wanted to, that film, the New York Times is the online distributor of that film, and for them I wanted to censor the film because that's going to be online, and I didn't want anyone, but specifically in this film, they're my family, right? I didn't want them to be in trouble because they do something that is illegal now, which is going on. I mean, it was always illegal, but now it's in the law, it's past the parliament, and it's a serious thing. That if you walk on a street without a job, you will be jailed up to 10 years, or you will be fined for like a huge money. So I wanted to take out those bits, and then my cousin, who walks with me on the streets without a job in the film, really went angry, and she was like, "Why did you do that? You should have kept that in the film. It's okay. Like we're all sharing the price." And it's so interesting to see that people are willing, like especially women, are willing to take those huge risks. Like it's not something, it's not a small thing. Like you might be in jail for, I don't know, like 10 years. But people still are willing to take that risk for a greater good, I think, for a good cause.
But what you're also talking about is a form of self-censorship, which which I also was wondering about. I mean, we have a lot of.
I mean, how to survive if not? I mean, as an Iranian filmmaker, I could easily, not easily. I mean, this is in me. Like I've been living with it, and it's so hard to even notice that I'm self-censoring. But when like someone like you tells me that I'm like, yeah, but if I don't do that, my cousin will be in jail. If I don't do that, my sister will lose her job. If I don't do that, I mean, I know that it's clear what's going to happen to me, but all I do is to protect the other participants and the other people. But I mean, how to survive if not?
I mean, it's very understandable, and I think it's something other festivals, we as festivals, me included, don't always see or want to see, because I've also been thinking about the term of self-censorship from a festival point of view, because festivals are dependent on funding, for example, but sometimes we might be afraid of not receiving funding because we're showing certain topics. So we're also festivals might be self-censoring themselves to not cause any trouble. You're nodding. I'm sure you have something to say.
Yeah, actually, thank God we don't have this problem because we don't have any governmental funding.
Scrap the governmental funding everywhere.
But at the same time, in Lebanon, we are kind of an open country. Like, censorship is not that hard, but it's a little bit serious when it comes to criticizing religion. You know, and when we're talking about religion, it's not just Muslim religion, like everyone would love to hear this. It's because Lebanon is Christian and Muslim, and both are very sensitive, by the way. Like, even the priests, whoa, they're so sensitive when it comes to criticizing religion. So also, one thing that you might not know is that Lebanon is the only country in the Middle East that has a Christian president. So it's not as you see only on the media. But yeah, we do a little bit of auto-censorship regarding this, although we always find our ways to say what we want to say. Sometimes you're not gonna put in jail, you know, but you have these barking dogs of the powerful people. Yeah, they may harm you a little bit, but it's not like something that goes for a long time, you know.
Just hurts a little.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Exactly. If it's worth it, like, yeah, it's fine.
Well, I'll come visit you in jail. Oh God. But what would you say? Because you have this also this perspective from Ukraine, and you're probably looking at other festivals. Do you feel that certain festivals are actually also not showing things anymore because we are afraid, or how would you see this?
Well, I didn't have enough time to see anything at this festival, so hard to say. I just wanted to quickly say about my experiences with my festival. I think we are also like super open about everything that we show, and we are there for some meaningful discussion with our audience. But of course, there are certain things that we wouldn't screen at the festival. I think it's not about self-censoring, but about the responsibility to care about our audience and create safe space for them, and yeah, just not let some harmful narratives into this small ecosystem.
This is actually a very good point you're making, because I also wanted to get to the point of safer spaces and creating them, because it is very important, especially if you have events in countries that are under constant threat of something with no funding or little funding. How do you actually manage to create these spaces for your audiences? Because you are showing the films at the cinema. You said earlier that the attacks were the worst on your opening night. How do you manage to make your audience feel safe and also not show films that might re-traumatize people?
I'll just quickly answer.
Sure.
So, yes, it has already been 3 years, 3 editions that we had during the full-scale invasion, and it's also this bizarre thing that you can wake up and there is an air raid and you can't go to work because the metro is closed, and you're like, fuck. I'm late. So it's like that normalized that you don't realize how much of a threat you live in all of the time. So yeah, with our festival, we have 2 venues, and one is basically a bomb shelter. It's like an underground cinema, so you can just keep watching and it's not interrupting anytime. And the other one is just located near an underground metro station, and we kindly ask our viewers to move there if there is a risk of missile attack, which happens quite a lot, every day. Yes, and even before the invasion started, we implemented the system of trigger and content warnings, just because we received a lot of feedback when we started doing so, that our friends, they're like, oh, the other festivals don't do that. And it's like, now so many people in Ukraine have PTSD, and we have so many war veterans and people who suffered because of the Russian invasion. So yes, it's just we cannot not inform them that something might contain something triggering. And yes, I also feel a lot of responsibility for that.
How do you go about this, Nicolas? Do you have... No, you don't have a bomb shelter, if I remember correctly.
No. Actually, I do understand. Like, but I think that Lebanese people are a little bit more. I don't know how to describe it, but they are sensitive, but like they hide this sensitivity. Like, we need treatment, we need a lot of therapies and many things, but like on the direct impact, you don't think a lot about this. But yeah, like, for example, one of the festivals that I organized, Beirut Mediterranean Film Festival, sometimes there are some sexual, scenes that or things that are not appropriate for a certain age. So we've done it 16 plus from the beginning. So it's a festival for 16 plus. So we don't want to think a lot about the material that is being on the screen. So when there's a film that might bother someone that has epilepsy or whatever, so we try as much as we can to say like this has strong visuals, or so we say it in the beginning. Now sometimes you have people coming late, and we can't do anything about it, and sometimes they blame us like, hey, why didn't you mention this? Like, we mentioned it from the beginning, but we cannot like keep on stopping the screening just to announce these things. So yeah, I think that we try as much as we can to create this safe space, but in a culture like Lebanon, like each has a different perception of what is safe and what is not. So it's a very diverse culture. So we try our best, but we're definitely not doing it 100% safe.
I mean, I imagine that's also to be very difficult in countries like yours to be absolutely safe. Are there questions from the audience? Because we also want to open up the floor to maybe have a discussion if you have something to say or if you want to add something or ask. Yeah.
I want to comment on something and I want to ask you a question. You were talking about, I forgot what your name is, sorry, about that Russian voices or Russian filmmakers are having more of a place in European cinemas. And as much as I would like it, as much as I'm against it, is I'm from South Lebanon, and my voice has been censored so many times as a filmmaker and as a musician. And I do not believe that Israeli voices should be censored because I'm against censorship in general. And I believe even if someone has something to say that is against me, I do not believe that they should be censored just because this is the right thing to do, not censor at all, and not even self-censor. I wish we can not self-censor ourselves. But what do you think about that? Do you think that we should censor Israeli voices right now?
I have an answer and I know what is it, but
You go first. Well, I'm only talking from my experience and as a person who lives in Ukraine, so like that's what's important for me. And I can understand that it's impossible to censor, and it shouldn't be like that. But I also think that if we give platform to, for example, Russian voices, it shouldn't be. But like I want to hear them criticizing their imperialism. I want them talking about the crimes of the country and what they are doing, not just to Ukraine, but to many other countries and lands. And I think it can also apply to the Israeli question. And yes, if it's like not being fair, and if it's not condemning what is happening, if it's not the genocide.
How can anyone decide what is fair or not? Everybody has different points of view.
Do we need the microphone?
I agree that censorship is, we should get rid of it in general. But I think what she meant, and also I agree, is that shaping the narratives of the public mind in the world is such a crucial thing at this point. And like, for example, someday Donald Trump says that we've spent a few days ago, it's hilarious, but like we've spent $50 billion something on condoms for Hamas people. Like, you know, like that. It's about the narrative and whose story, which story, which is truthful, and which one is getting the more is shaping the public opinion in a way. If we want to stay on, if we want to be free of all of that tension, I think raising awareness is the most important thing, and to be able to achieve that is to give the same right-wing Israelis can also say their things, as well as right-wing in every other country. But also Palestinians have to have the same platforms, have to have the same right and resources to combat that narrative, which is not the case, as we all know.
Thank you. Any other? There's a hand there.
Hello. I understand the point of view about censorship, not censorship. I do believe that cultural organizations should have a moral and ethical point of view. I think it's very easy for us, especially in Europe, to say, well, I will not censor anything, or I want my festival for everybody. I think that is a very privileged point of view. This is how I feel as an Italian. In our festival, we come to the agreement to not accept, for now, filmmakers from Russia or from Israel. And I know that can be difficult to accept, because we would like to live in a world where there's no censorship, but I also would like to live in a world where nobody is getting bombed. So I think it's, unfortunately, some filmmakers are getting censored, and it's sad, but some filmmakers are getting bombed and killed. So I prefer to go for fuck Russia and Putin, man. This is my point of view as cultural organization. And I think we as European organizations should think a lot about our privilege. Think a lot about how we stand, and the other point of view about what we can do and what we cannot do. Well, I think to not get like solidarity a fanboy thing, I think is have an ethic, you know? Take a stand always, what we want and what we don't want. Yeah.
Thank you, Giulio, for saying the things that, like in a very clear way. You know, I was trying to be political, but you turned me on now. No. You know, like when we're talking about the strongest army in the world, but they have an open budget, they have no one's gonna tell them why you're doing this. They have all the media with them. Of course, they're gonna be the strongest army in the world. You know, if you wanna kill everyone without any ethical values or whatever, like, yeah, you can be the strongest. But is it a good thing to be the strongest? Like, is it something that you really feel proud of, to be the strongest in this room? Like, what an amazing title, what an amazing adjective. You know, so definitely what you're saying, when these people, they have everything behind them, you know, at least the festivals, be with us.
That's actually a very nice appeal to us all, I think, because I know we've had a discussion in Dresden as well about what our responsibility as festivals is, and what we should also provide. And I think the question of censorship or not inviting people of a certain nationality, is that the right way to go? I don't think we have a right answer. I think we need to keep up the discussion and also face some uncomfortable truths. And I think it's very good that you also got turned on. We have time for a couple more questions or opinions. Please feel free to join the discussion. Don't be shy.
You said you were afraid about government censorship with your fundings, and I was asking myself, are you afraid about censorship from private fundings, and what do you make with that, and if they don't like your opinions?
Is that for all of
Yes.
who wants to? Any answers?
I can just say something funny. So when I'm Iranian, my films, like the ones that have been around, are Iranians as well. And some people like ask me, okay, have you got like public funding? Have you got national funding? And I'm like, funding from Iran for this film is like, if I'd be grateful if they just don't, I don't know, like kill me, let alone funding my films. So it's really like, it depends. For me, no, I don't get any national, of course, because of the nature of the films. If I wanted to make specific, like particular films for them, yes, that would be easy. Like they would give you millions. But for my kind of films, no. And like I've been living in the UK as well, but I'm not British, so I'm not giving. You know, I'm something in between. Like no one takes the responsibility of me in the world. But yeah, from festival.
Yeah, actually, it's a critical thing. Like now, you cannot take money from someone and just after that you start throwing things on them. So it's a matter of ethical things. But like when you have like a clear vision of what you do and how you do it, you tell it to your sponsors. Like you say, like this is how we do things, and these are our values. These are our, this is how we do things. And if you feel that you want to give us this money, we will take it. But like, it's a thing that like you have to take every case on its own. Some things that they may ask you are not that harmful, that we can live with it. You know, but other things that, okay, then we don't take the money. But you cannot take the money and then use it against them. It feels weird, you know.
Unfortunately, the time is up. But I would just like to ask for one word answer, if you have one, from each of you. If there's one thing you could change in this industry, what would it be? No, unfortunately, we don't have time for questions anymore. But you can have a conversation after. I'm sorry, they're strict here. Do you have an answer? If you could change one thing, one word. Or you think about it and we leave it at that, and we all think about it. No, you have an answer.
Okay, during we think about it, I want to go back to what short films fight for.
Give us the final word, Nicolas, please. Yeah.
You want?
Yeah.
Okay.
Please.
So for me, really, when your introduction was very inspiring for me. Like we really live in a very agitated world. Mm-hmm. It's too much information, too much happening, and I think what we fight for is we fight against time and space, real time and space. Like we stop them, we take a step back, we make something that makes us understand all these changes. And we put it on the screen, and we stop the moment. We at least we reflect on the same idea for 15 minutes, not just being bombarded with all of these agitations. So I think we're fighting against our reality, against the real time, against the real spaces that we're living in. We're just creating some understandings of this world. Maybe we can help ourselves and others to at least have a single feeling at a moment.
I think this is a very powerful final monologue. Thank you very much. Thank you, all of you. I think you're all still here. I'm sure there's plenty to discuss right now, so please talk to each other and listen to each other and hear those voices. Thank you very much.